Hey everyone, Joshua Hanlon here at Brickworld Chicago 2022, and today we're going to be talking with some builders who did a massive LEGO Star Wars video game collaborative layout here at Brickworld. So we've got Jay, who we featured a number of times on the channel. He's going to intro the whole layout, and then we'll take a look at all the builds.
Yeah. Hello, boyos. Rich Boy Jay here, back in with another video. Super excited to present to you guys our collaboration from the original LEGO Star Wars video game. For a lot of us, our fandom of LEGO and Star Wars started with this game. So we all came together, I think me and about 9 other builders, and we wanted to commemorate it in a big way. So we're basically going to start off with a build of the main hub of the game, representing some fun characters as well as some fun builds that you kind of collect throughout the game. And then we're basically going to progress through every single level of the game. We have a build representing it. So it's a pretty massive collaboration. We started about 3 months ago, and honestly, I'm still a little bit of emotional about it because this is the first time I've seen all this together. This is also the first time that I've seen some of these people's builds because they didn't do them until like a few days ago. But it all ended up working out, so super excited.
What year did this game come out?
This game is from 2005.
Okay.
So I guess, yeah, like some of us, you know, like I said, started with this game. Some of us kind of picked up with some of the further iterations of the game, but I think everyone a part of this has some sort of attachment to, you know, whether it be this game or some of the future iterations of the game. This is where a lot of us, you know, gained our love and appreciation for Star Wars.
So who do we start with here at the very beginning then?
Yeah, so my man Playmation right here. He's going to go ahead and tell you about this friggin' awesome hub that he created. I'm going to leave it up to you guys.
Perfect, thank you.
So yeah, again, my name's Ben. I'm Playmation Shorts on YouTube, also on Instagram. I do a lot of animations on YouTube, but my Instagram mostly focuses on classic Star Wars stuff like this. So I built the main hub here. It's a pretty sizable mock. It's over 5,000 pieces on its own. It's like a full, proper, scaled mock to the game. It's got a few custom printed parts inside there, like above the counter where Dexter is, and it's got Dexter running it, which is also a custom figure. You'll see if you look out throughout the whole layout, lots of custom figures. Some of them are even more rare than some actual LEGO minifigures, which is super cool, really collectible. And also, if you see throughout in the diner and as well as all the other dioramas, you'll see at least every playable character in the video game.
How many characters is that?
There's 56 playable, and there's also some NPCs, like you'll see later down the line on the Gungan sub, like we have Boss Ness over there. He's not a playable character in the game, but we've still got him here anyway.
So take us through kind of the build process. Some of this, obviously a lot of tiling out here, kind of creating those patterns.
Yeah. So the diner I had actually built on my own. The exterior here with all the mini kits and whatever else, though, that was actually built at the convention here. So we set up for the first time ever here. It's got a lot of the larger bricks that came in the mosaic sets underneath with lots of tiles underneath. And yeah, so the mini kits are set up. There's episode 1, 2, and 3 over there. And they've all got these little borders up around them. There's like a laser field that goes up around them in the game. So that's kind of what's containing them all. And then there's the Tantive 4, which isn't prequels, but that's the super build you get for getting True Jedi and all the levels, and then you unlock a cool bonus level of Episode 4 in the game. And then it's kind of a little teaser for LEGO Star Wars 2. Yeah, the mini kits here, something notable about them is that some were official LEGO sets, but lots of them were custom just for the game, like a lot of the Episode 3 ones here. This game actually came out just before Episode 3 even released, so there weren't that many LEGO sets for it. So we've got lots of different ships there. There's a droid, gunship, the very odd fire ship from Episode 3. It like puts out the burning half a ship flying in it. It's so random that they included it in the game. And then there's Anakin's Jedi Interceptor, the Wookiee Catamaran, Arc 170, and V-Wing there, as well as. Do you want me to talk about the episode?
So, yeah, you can point out some of your favorites here.
Oh, some of my favorites? Actually, the Gungan sub, I think, is a really cool mini build over there. That's another one that's custom for the game. Like, that's not a LEGO set. So there's also the Republic Cruiser, which is the red one there. The Royal Starship, which is another custom. Saboba's Pod Racer was a LEGO set. The N1 Starfighter is another custom. And the Sith Infiltrator is also an official LEGO set. And then Episode 2 here, there's Obi-Wan's Jedi Starfighter. That one's a set, same with the Droideka. That's the classic 2002 Droideka that a lot of people are familiar with. And there's also a mini gunship and ATTE And the only custom one for Episode 2 is Count Dooku's Solar Sailor there, but that's another kind of interesting one.
Very unique.
Very, very unique.
What do we have here in the back of this building?
So yeah, the diner, the way we have it so people can see it better, it's split in half right now. It actually all comes together as one full assembly, but in there is just like the actual dining area. So it's got a lot of chairs and tables and whatnot. And something that's cool is the environments in the video game aren't made of Lego, but there are some little bits that are. So that's something I captured in the mock. Most of it's no studs unless there's actually supposed to be a stud there in the game. So like we got the classic Lego chairs making up the booths just like they are, and yeah, the nice tiled floor in the game, it's nice, shiny, and reflective, so that's got to be smooth. And yeah, lots of cool building techniques in that build overall.
I mean, you captured the look of it so nicely there, and I think a lot of the public, I'm sure, will be coming by and recognizing it from the game.
Yeah, that's the goal, really.
So this is the first level of the game that you play. This is almost like the tutorial level and probably one of the more iconic ones just because anyone who's ever touched the game had to go through here. Whether or not they continued is up to them. So first starting off over here, we have the main room where our two heroes, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn, are almost gassed to death by the droids. But fortunately, they are Jedis and they make their way out of the build. I really wanted to represent this section of the build because, like I said, like whenever I first kind of took my dive into the game, this is the first part of Star Wars that I saw. So it was really cool to kind of relive those moments and recreate that first scene. I'm particularly proud of the table design here. It's pretty angular, surprisingly. It's for sure the most work I've ever put into a Lego table, but it worked out. I got some like nice snot work here with those arches that are basically reversing each other and just sliding a tan 2x2 tile in there. These chairs are also somewhat iconic because you use the Force on them, and it plays a very famous Star Wars song, which is weird to think about because first time I played this game, I probably didn't even know what that song was. But yeah, we also got some of like the breakable elements of the game over here. I think one of the like design philosophies I took with this was like in the video game, usually the breakable things are actually built out of Lego bricks, whereas everything else is just kind of like smooth and just designed like it would be in the real life. So that's kind of the philosophy I took. I try to use a lot of like snot work, not show too many exposed studs for the realistic elements of the game, and then for the brick build stuff, I pretty much just try to build it exactly what it looks like in the video game. So if we make our way on the outside of the hallway here, this is where you encounter your first enemies. You'll notice some loose pieces on the build. No, the build is not unfinished. That's actually deliberate. You have to basically use the Force on the door on that side, and then they push the door through, and then there's just a bunch of like loose pieces that land on the floor. And I think later on you can use the Force to move them around. So that was kind of a cool element of the game to incorporate. We got some loose studs there so you can rack up your money, get some of those collectibles in the game, and they're being confronted by a bunch of security droids, which, as we know, are a problem for these guys.
I love that, though, because, yeah, you captured the authentic look of the game, so it wasn't just another Star Wars build. It was very much capturing the look of the game itself in the Star Wars world.
Yeah, no, that was a pretty common theme throughout the entire collaboration. Like, we were pretty anal about sending people reference images from the game, not from the movie, from the game, and also from this specific game, because, a lot of people grew up with the complete saga, which was like kind of like, I wouldn't say remastered, but they did go back and change some things from the original game. We were like, no, we got to be consistent with the original game. So there's just small little details you'll notice throughout it that maybe aren't necessarily movie accurate, but are for sure elements that you would recognize from the video game.
Hello, my name is Francis, and this is my part for the LEGO Star Wars collab. So I built Invasion of Naboo, which is pretty much the level where Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Jar Jar run through this little rocky structure. So I included Jar Jar, obviously. You got Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon being the iconic characters of this level. Shout out to Shane, or Cult of Christensen, for those chrome hilts, which I did not have in my collection, but very thankful to have those in the build. And then, just to finish it off, I have the Battle Droid. I just had like some rock work going on, have the leaves up here. And then, probably my favorite part of this build is the Jar Jar mosaic, which is it's a staple of this game, We have some other mosaics throughout the collab, so you'll get to see that in the other builds.
The big Jar Jar head is just iconic.
Yeah, it is. It is.
And you've got the little mini kit there as well, right?
Yeah, I wanted to include that just to make it feel collaborative with the entire build, just so it's like a staple of this game.
And then some of the studs on the ground there in front of the characters?
Yeah, those represent currency in the game. There's a variety of colors like gold, silver, and purple. Each has a different value in the game. If you played the game, you would know.
What do we have in front here as well?
Honestly, those aren't mine. I don't know, but they're pretty cool.
I'm here to present to you a build by a guy named Comic Bricks. Unfortunately, he couldn't be in attendance this weekend, but he was super awesome to be able to actually contribute a build to the collaboration. I literally drove to his house right before we left to this convention. So this is representing the third level of the game. I think it's called Escape from Naboo. A lot of people will recognize the targets that you have to shoot on the game. That's the only way you can pass through this gate. And I love those little just small things that just evoke so many emotions from people when they look at this. Like without the targets, people just be like, oh, it's like Naboo, right? But the targets just like take them back to a very specific moment in their life when they were playing this game. So Comic really like knocked it out of the park with that. I think that the wall design is also very nice. For one, it's all snot, and he has these little indentures in there that use some dark tan just to give it a little bit more texture, which I'm always preaching with Lego. Like, you're gonna build a wall, don't just build it straight up. Like, give it some texture. Don't just kind of like half do it.
Make it something interesting to look at.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, you have to spend the time building anyways. May as well like enjoy it, right? And as I mentioned before, you know, we have some of the crushable elements of the game. So we got these recognizable guys right here. They give you quite a few studs, which is cool. And then we got another one over here that you would destroy in order to access this racing platform. Another thing that I have to highlight is this gate back here. It's made use of some pretty cool techniques with candle pieces and like, you know, reversing direction with the jumpers. It's a lot of crazy stuff going on there. So I think Comic did a really good job. I think lastly, this one is probably the first build that really like effectively uses custom minifigures. Because like I said, we want to be very particular about representing the game in its proper way. So all these minifigures are things that LEGO has made some point or another. But at this point in time, like LEGO, for example, hadn't made a Queen Amidala, or they hadn't made a Captain Panaka. So there's people on the secondary market. I think this is like Magna Built Customs who did these, who are basically like recreating the video game versions of it. Because, you know, when they were making the video game, they just had to kind of create what they thought the characters looked like. And sometimes that results in a figure that's pretty similar to what LEGO's made up until now. Sometimes it is drastically wrong, but it still has a certain charm to it, because like this is, like I said, a lot of our first introductions to these characters. Now we have the Mos Espa pod race. I think for a lot of people in episode 1, this is probably like one of the more favorable scenes that they have. Unfortunately, this is one of the least favorable missions in the game. I kid you not, me and my friend were playing this level last night and we had the hardest time with it. I swear, like, this level is a straight up menace. And if you're listening to me and you're like, oh, like the level's not that hard, you've probably played the Complete Saga version of it. And the Complete Saga, they actually made the level easier, which I think says a lot. Because if you have a LEGO game and you're having to make levels easier, then yeah, there's probably something wrong with it, because those levels are supposed to be for all ages, right? But I basically did a pretty simple build with some recognizable elements from the game. I have the little booster on the ground, as well as the gate with the arrows that let you know, I guess, in which direction you're going. This is the first time I experimented with this particular rock technique, using like all the slopes kind of on their side, representing some of the layers of the rock work. It actually worked out pretty good. It's always a dream of mine to do a big pod race mock at some point, so this is a nice little teaser for me, I guess, to see just how much I'm going to enjoy endlessly stacking these slopes. One other thing I do want to highlight is we have, like I said, some builds from the cutscenes as well. This was actually done by Playmation right here, and this is like the scene where Qui-Gon walks into the thing, and for some reason he doesn't have 500 cents to avoid the hyperdrive, so then Anakin hops off the counter and shows him, hey look, pod race going on, bro, let me in, we'll get that money for you.
This is a great build, and you captured the arch very nicely, very reminiscent of like an Arches National Park type of natural bridge area. So I think you did really well there. For people who haven't played the game, what makes this level so difficult?
It's just a menace. I want to say the level is just broken in a lot of ways. Like there's sometimes you'll just be flying and the game will just like make you like swing against the wall or something. Like I'm not one to complain about video games cheating, but I'm fairly certain like they cheat on this video game. There's one part in particular where you have to drive through a bunch of boulders, and it's just like the most impossible thing ever. Like it's pretty outrageous. You're also being shot at. There's also a timer. There's also another pod race you have to beat. Like I said, this is a LEGO game, right? LEGO games usually don't require like time limits and things like that, but for whatever reason they turned up the difficulty on this particular level.
I love it. Well, I'm glad you could capture with Lego.
I appreciate that.
Yo, what's up? My name's Shane. I go as Cult of Christensen online, and this is one of the many builds I did for this amazing collaboration. I'm starting off, this is my build of the level Retake Palace. This is a pretty simple one. Basically, the floor is just a snot pattern, and the only really complicated thing about this build was this, this control panel right here, where basically the context of this this part of the level I made was you have to free 6 Naboo royal officers to get to these control panels on these 3 N1 starfighters in order to end the level. And so I built one of these right here. I'm pretty proud how the control panel turned out. And this beautiful N1 starfighter was provided by Playmation to use in this mock. And as you can see, this is actually a modified version of the 2002 UCS set, where it actually has a cockpit where you can fit a minifigure in. This is actually accurate to the game. I kind of wish the set was honestly like this. So it's a pretty simple mock. I'm really happy how it turned out. As for the figures, this custom torso for this guy right here was provided by Magna Bricks Customs on Instagram, and this Padme right here was provided by Fig Fab Labs. And yeah, pretty simple mock, and I'm really happy how it turned out.
Great figures, and the chrome is always amazing.
The chrome is really what makes this look so much better than it really should. So shout out to Playmation for letting me borrow that.
Hello, my name is Ian, or Droid on the internet, and here we have my Duel of the Fates mock, or the level from that's called Maul in the game. And I'm super happy with it. I really like that I used a snot technique, which is snot on top. And I really wanted to get all of the features into the game. As you guys can see, there's a health bar, and that is very, that's a very original thing to the game. And a funny fact actually is these red hearts don't exist in this color. They only exist on a printed piece, and that's from the Tin Man from the Wizard of Oz. So I had to rub all of the painting off with a rubber, and that was something. But I'm really glad that I did. And these are also sticker pieces, stickers that I made with glossy sticker paper, and that came out really nicely. And also used Light My Bricks, which is a company that has lights. So I used some lights over here and over here as well. And this is also something funny. This is probably the most recognizable thing of the whole level, is having the Qui-Gon with the X eyes. And that I had the piece, so, and it just all came out nicely that I was able to make this mock. And I think that's just one of the best parts of the mock.
I love how it feels immediately like the video game with the health bars up there. You've even got the mini kit on the wall.
Yeah, that was the most important thing, is just having that instant recognizability. Because if you wouldn't have this, it might just feel like an episode 1 mock, and this just really finishes it. You
got Darth Maul's legs just sitting up there.
Yeah, exactly. That's from the cutscene actually, where the legs just keep standing there, and they're just hanging out there.
So talk about the build technique with kind of the rounded sections, because you got those angled pieces in there. I'm sure that's not easy to achieve.
Yeah, that's not easy. Actually, most of the time I would just use plates for this, but I wanted to go a little bit more out there, and it uses these pieces. I'll just show you guys these pieces, and that way you can have the nice angle, but you need like every other way you have to put a half a plate in. So it's not super easy, but it's also not that stable. But I really like how it looks, and it gives that really nice smooth technique with some texture as well.
And then how about the wall sections? How did that come together?
So the wall sections actually came out very nicely because they're really easily removable, and that makes it also very easy to transport, and they're pretty stable. And this is actually something that's really just straight out of the games, and you just build piece by piece the same way the game did. And these all just pop off, and it's very easy to remove.
Perfect. Great job with the building. Congratulations on nomination for Best Star Wars of the show.
I just woke up with that, like with a message that I got nominated, and that's just insane to wake up with that. So thank you so much.
All right, now I'm going to present to you guys my build from Discovery on Camino. I knew I was going to be building a large-scale Camino box, so I didn't want to do something that was going to be like repetitive, because I was going to have to do those things anyway. So I opted for a little bit of fun with this build, and we got the disco dance floor. The build itself is pretty simple, just kind of some arches situated in there using snot techniques and some round 4x4 white plates. But obviously the allure of this particular build is the fact that we have the animated lights in the floor. This is pretty cool. Actually, I'm going to reset this, because after a while, for whatever reason, it just starts blinking all red. But once you get it restarted, you'll get the, I guess, full animated effect of it. These are just some random LEDs I ordered from online. But yeah, no, pretty fun build. Just very reminiscent of the video game, obviously. We got the custom Kaminoans right there, which are pretty topical because LEGO's just happening to release them this year. So shout out to LEGO for doing that, because I'm currently building a big, large-scale Kamino mock.
So when you order lights for a build, is it just kind of random stuff you find online, a specific company you look for?
So typically it's just random stuff I find online. The most important thing for me is just finding a voltage that matches up with my power source. These in particular I had to do a lot of research with because they're animated. Like usually I just have static lights, but with this one I specifically needed the lights to flicker on and off. So I really just look for any type of like automated blinking light. I didn't want to have to do any programming or anything like that. I just wanted something simple, plug in. These actually kind of worked out pretty well. And the nice thing about this is, when this mock is done, this is something that I could transfer to my larger Kamino mock as an Easter egg down the line. A couple other things I wanted to point out, because these are some recognizable builds. We have these pesky little droids right here that are pretty never-ending in the video game, so those guys are hanging around. We also got Jango Fett right here, and that's actually a custom Jango Fett. That's not the original one. For whatever reason, in the video game, they gave him like really purple arms and legs and a white helmet rather than a gray one. So that's actually a custom-made one, and he has that iconic rocket shooting out of his back.
For my next build, we have this is based off the Droid Factory level. This was co-created by myself and Lewis, aka the Last Brickbender, who's a very talented builder. You should definitely check out his Instagram. And I am the quote-unquote co-builder in the loosest sense possible. So basically I had a bunch of these. I had the build. It was my fault. I put all this work on myself. But anyway, Lewis was unprompted, kind enough to design this whole build for me in studio. Not only did he make the parts list for it, but he made custom instructions.
That's dedication.
Yeah, and he did this in like a week and a half. He's absolutely cracked at building, and yeah, the one thing about this build was interesting to construct. Just like a Last Brickbender build, it's very detailed, but it can also be really fragile at times. So thankfully, I had help actually constructing this at the convention, so shout out to Big Bricks, Axie Droid, and Dalek Bricks for taking the time out of the day on Wednesday and helping me construct this. So I appreciate that. So this part of the level is right after the starting room, where basically, just like in the movie, there's this big hallway, and you fight a bunch of Geonosians, and you come out of this door, and then you see the Droid Factory right here. So this conveyor belt looks awesome. We just used some these really old trans yellow pieces for the I don't know if there's like a grate, it's like a holographic grate, and these like chains that come together look really cool. And then this crusher also like turned out really, really great as well. Like Brickbender did an amazing job on this mock, and just this door technique is just absolutely just incredible. It was really tricky trying to get that in there. Like he in studio, like he designed it where like it was like an illegal technique and didn't really work in real life, so we had to kind of like cram it in there. But yeah, this build is just absolutely like just awesome. I'm so thankful to Lewis for making this for me. And lastly, for the figures, so this flesh tone Anakin head was from SJ Bricks Customs. I think that's the name of the store. And this Padme is from Fig Fab Lab. So it really ties the whole mock together. So I'm really thankful for all the guys that helped me construct this at the convention, because I didn't have time to build this at home. And of course, shout out to Last Brickbender for making this amazing mock for me to use in this collaboration. So shout out to Lewis. Thank you so much.
So much great collaboration happening here. I love it.
Exactly. Like people who weren't even here contributed. So it's really awesome. Like this whole collab is so freaking cool. It really is.
I'm Alex, also known as Dogma54 in the internet, and I built the level Jedi Battle for this great collaboration. So first, thank you to Shane for providing all those figures to me, so I didn't have to buy them because they're pretty expensive now. Yeah, with this level I really wanted to go into great detail with all the wall details and like the broken parts of it. So I used the different brown colors, the old one and the new one, to show some weathering. And also the cracks in the wall with different tiles, plates and slopes for that. Yeah.
And yeah, what all minifigures do we have represented here?
Oh yeah, so basically it's all of the classic minifigures from the game. So we have the old battle droids in the sand red color, really cool. Also one of the rare blue super battle droids, very fragile figure too. And then a bunch of custom figures like this Django and the Kit Fisto custom figure. They're custom made to look like in the game.
Fantastic work. How that wall is just kind of like one stud thick. So how sturdy is all of that?
Well, it's not that sturdy and it breaks apart very easily, but that's great for transportation by airplane, so it's not too bad.
We're back again with my third build. This is based off the level Gunship Calvary, and in a very similar. It may seem cool that like, oh man, this is a level where you pilot a gunship, Republic gunship. This must be really fun. No, not in the original Lego Star Wars. It might not be as frustrating or as broken as the original pod racing level, but this one was really, really weird level. It was like isometric and it was auto-scrolling and ugh. But anyway, how I represented this, I kept it pretty simple. We have the mid-scale models they used in game. These are not not actual Lego sets. This is like a weird model. It's in between the full-size version and like the mini version. This is what they use in the game. So, and they look both really, really cool. So this red one is the one with the red highlights is the Player 1 version, and the one with the green highlights is the Player 2 version. These models, the instructions for these models were created by Andreas Lego on Instagram. So if you want to build these yourself, you totally can. I will say that this model right here was physically built by Playmation, and I built this guy right here and this turret. These are slightly modified to be a little bit more accurate to the game. So just if you want to copy these exactly, just letting you know. And then this turret right here, this level is very infamous for having all these lasers that you have to somehow avoid in this auto-scrolling level. And I'm pretty happy how this turned out. I just kind of made this dark tan base. Which the ground kind of looks dark tan, so that's what I've chose. And this turret, I think, turned out pretty dang accurate to the game, except these should be light bluish gray. And there's actually two versions of this turret in this game. I built the one with the exposed red tubes, and then there's another version with just a light bluish gray kind of shield over this part. And then I just made a couple quick stands for the gunships. And I think that gets across the level pretty well. And it's really cool seeing like both of these gunships, the Player 1 and the Player 2 gunship, in the same place. I'm pretty sure I'm the first person to actually build Andreas's model, like the Player 2 version. So I'm really happy how that turned out. And also, yeah, of course, again, shout out to Playmation for letting me borrow one of his custom models. So yeah, I'm really happy how this one turned out.
Hi, I'm Nick, or Hatbrick on Instagram, and this is my part for the collab, the Count Dooku level. So basically it's the part where Anakin and Obi-Wan are already defeated and you just fight as Yoda against Count Dooku. My main focus was on the pillar because I feel like that was the most iconic part of that area. So I started with that and then went on from there. So what's really hard about it was that the candlesticks don't stick in the 1x1 round plate with the hole. So it's just held up by pressure from above. And yeah, also this was really hard to do. I did many versions to get it right, like with the different levels and how it's round. And yeah, but I'm really happy how it came out.
And what all minifigures do we have represented here? I love the hand missing as well.
Yeah, it's Obi-Wan and Anakin down there, and then Count Dooku and Yoda. But Yoda is the only actual Lego figure because all the others are custom figures. Because the Count Dooku only came with a yellow head, but we had to get the flesh tone figure for this part.
The rock wall in the back is very nice too, just kind of connecting a lot of those slopes. Looks like a little precarious back there.
Yeah, it's sturdy, but it's not connected that much. Like only this part is connected, but most of it is like with ball joints and yeah. But I'm happy how it came out. I had to transport it here all the way from Germany. I'm from Germany. So I kind of build it with having in mind that I need to pack it in the suitcase. So it's a bit hollow back there, but I'm happy how it came out.
Now it's time for the build that isn't actually really a build. This is from episode 3, level 1. This is the Battle over Coruscant. Really, when I saw this build, I just kind of envisioned having a pretty decent collection of all the ships, because like when you're younger, you know, you see all these sets kind of crossing paths in the game, and you're like, it'd be so cool to have that many of those ships. So I really just tried to assemble as many of them as possible that would fit kind of in this small space on the table. So we just have the original Anakin's Jedi Interceptor set, which is actually really cool. That was my favorite, or my first Lego set as a big Star Wars fan, so a lot of memories are held with that set. Here we have Obi-Wan's version, which is actually quite surprising, because like the actual Lego set they made of this, like the colors are swapped, but like the video game I think is consistent with this one. So it's just weird little differences like that you'd find with some of these builds. We got an array of Sand Blue Vulture droids as well as Tri-Fighters, and in the video game, I guess they were being sneaky. They snuck in this brown Trade Federation Vulture droid, so there's people like, why is the brown one there? But if you play the game, you actually notice that there is one that flies across. And then finally, we got the ARC 170 over there. It's just cool to see some of these Lego sets that were some of my favorite things to play with as a kid here as an adult, and in a pretty decent quantity.
Good attention to detail there with the brown one as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I said, we gotta have everything correct. Gotta have every single thing correct.
My name is Hunter Bailey, or Forever Lego Studios on social media. I have Chapter 2 from Episode 3, Chancellor in Peril. We of course have Obi-Wan and Anakin pretty much trying to recapture Palpatine, who says he was pretty much taken by Dooku. I don't think so. I think he kind of orchestrated it. But you of course have Dooku on the terrace with his super battle droids kind of on the side getting ready to blast at them. You've got the battle droids. You have the little blue container that if you hit, it exploded. For this, I wanted to make sure that the flooring was fully snot and very smooth looking, because it's inside of a ship, so you got to make sure it's all flat and nice and clean. So I really like how the floor came out, as well as the stairs and the terrace. It's really exciting for me, as well as with Dooku. Probably my least favorite villain to fight, because it was so annoying to fight and switch back and forth whenever he shocked you. So, but I'm really happy with how this came out, and I'm very happy with how the collaboration came out.
Yeah. Talk a little bit more about the stair technique in particular. Looks really fantastic.
I appreciate that. So what I wanted to do, and I was kind of going back and forth from clips from the video game, I wanted to make sure that it seemed like all the stairs were floating, and I was able to incorporate that with just stacking or making a bunch of these layers right here with tiles and just stacking on top of them, giving it that floating kind of look. And then of course the little pillars on the side kind of holding up everything. Those two pillars are holding up the entire terrace and the stairs. But yeah, I really like how the stairs came out, as well as all the little details that I tried to add in from the original video game.
I'm Techno Union, and this is my General Grievous mock from LEGO Star Wars, the Revenge of the Sith section of the game. So first, I'd like to shout out Cult of Christensen for the Obi-Wan and Commander Cody figures, and Playmation for that custom General Grievous from the game. So it's a relatively simple mock compared to some others from the collab. So, you know, we've got some like the snot technique for the rocks over here, as well as the small circle, which, you know, isn't entirely accurate to the game. But I was just kind of trying to make a quick mock, you know, and I think it gets the job done. It's relatively simple, and I think it's just pretty effective. But I don't know. That's about it.
Yeah, I mean, great kind of snot building there, and you can really see the different layers of the rock and how you're able to achieve that.
Yeah. I was very happy how that came out.
All right, it's me again to talk about yet another build. This one is based off the Defense of Kashyyyk level. Specifically, this part of the level is right after you free the 5 Wookiees that go on the little buttons that lower the bridge, and you jump down on this beach, and there's just like clones and droids just coming out of the water, invading the beach like just D-Day style, and the droids and the clones are working together to try to kill Yoda and Chewbacca and Tarpals. So, you know, they're just fighting for their life right now. Yoda just about to two-hit this this commander droid into bits. And but yeah, for the build, it's fairly simple. Basically, for the sand, I decided to make it dark tan because it was pretty dark in the game. Basically, just using 1x1 and 1x2 tiles and some plates interspersed to kind of give it some texture. I'm happy how it turned out. It looks all right. This bomb right here, I decided to make it kind of inclined into the ground. I think that looks really good. And just FYI, if you see these on the beach and you see the coins, don't go near the coins. It's a trap. You're gonna die instantly. Just don't even try it.
Pro tip.
Pro tip. For like the darker sand, I decided to use dark bluish gray. I don't know if that was the best choice, but like, you know, trying to match the colors in the games can be kind of tricky sometimes. So that's what I went with. I think it looks okay. And then as for the water, I decided to use trans black. Maybe it's a little dark than it should be, but I think it also looks all right. But I am happy about the figure placement. You know, just seeing all the clones coming out of the water and the droids fighting Yoda looks really cool, as well as this original clone Scout Walker. This is an actual set, but I tried to make it as accurate to the game as possible. As you can see, the game has the 2 translucent blasters on each side, and these things are sticking out for some reason as well. And this guy's taking aim at Chewbacca, and if I had to bet money who's gonna win this fight, I'm gonna take the Scout Walker. Ain't looking good for Chewbacca. All these figures are official Lego figures, except for these 2 blue boys right here. These are actually blue 442nd troopers. So in the original game, they were blue, but in Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga, they were fixed to be green. But yeah, these 2 are customs by DK Collectibles, and they look really awesome. And yeah, I think this mock turned out all right. I'm happy with it.
My name's Aaron, or 327 Bricks. That's my Ruin of the Jedi mock. It's the level where you are going back in the temple to find out what's happened, obviously. And it's you're playing as Yoda and Obi-Wan, and you encounter a bunch of clones, obviously, and some clones in disguise, which Cult of Christian nicely gave me. And this is actually my first ever mock. So I've never built anything remotely like this at all. So it was definitely an experience to learn a lot of it. I did it all digitally on Studio, and then just translated it. And the pillars were probably the hardest part. My friend Lucas Projects really helped me with that. That was a multi-day process that luckily he was able to help me with a lot there. But I mean, so far it was a fun experience. Doing the collab was just a really enjoyable time. And thanks to Jay for organizing it. And I think I'm looking forward to what I do next. I'm happy with how it turned out.
No, this is great for your first build here. Those pillars especially, I love how you've got kind of the variations in size as far as the sections that are kind of like torn down there and just showing that inner exposed kind of blue core.
Right. I mean, the blue, unfortunately, it's with Lego, it's hard. The blue core is supposed to be on the same level as the rest. But I mean, at that point, the pieces just don't exist. Yeah. And it's like, you can't make the connections happen with the same shaping. And the rest of the pillars are, unfortunately, I wanted to make them all pillars, but the level, they're all destroyed already. And then those red bricks annoy me because they're just kind of tacky, but they're part of the level design where you build a force bridge up to the shattered area up in the top there. But yeah, I'm really happy with how the pillars ended up turning out.
I love the action there as well with Yoda and the lightsaber.
It may not be game accurate, but I think it's a great scene from the movie, so I was glad to translate that to the scene here.
And then the sort of tile carpet look is really great too, so using all those different colors and making that pattern.
Right, so originally the dark red was regular red because the game, it looks regular red, but honestly, like Lego red is so bright, it just doesn't work at that point. So I had to, in the last few days of the mock, I had to buy a bunch of dark red tiles and make it dark red, and it just looks so much better, I think. I mean, the red made it look so, it wasn't even bad, it was just like tacky, I guess. So I'm really happy with the way the colors go together. And the medium blue with the regular blue, I think, blend really well. And it looks a lot like the level, which I didn't realize I could like translate that well into Lego. And I'm really happy with the snot sections that like destroy the carpet. I'm pretty happy with how that turned out as well.
Now we have my final build. This is from the last official level of the video game. This is the Mustafar level. So this one was one that I was pretty adamant about taking just because, like, I don't know, when I think about the LEGO Star Wars video games, some of the moments that I enjoyed the most, I think that Mustafar level is super fun because it's the one level where you kind of like are simultaneously working with your partner but also fighting them at the same time. And also just as a kid, I thought it was just one of the coolest Star Wars locations. So the part of this level is like, you end up kind of having to traverse this giant like mechanical fork thing or whatever it is, and you basically jump across these platforms, and you will probably die a lot. Spent lots of my time in my life just dying at this particular part of the level, but it was pretty cool. So we got Obi-Wan right here chasing Anakin. Anakin's doing his little somersault from one part of the fort to the other. this is one of those builds where, like, you know, the focus of it is really just the platforms you're walking on, but I still wanted to give it a nice backdrop. Fortunately, because it's like a fork that kind of crashed into the lava, I was able to basically make, you know, the base of it somewhat detailed and have it, you know, be a nice little backdrop to the build. So once again, employed a lot of snot techniques to just have this, you know, be reminiscent of the more realistic elements of the game. One of the most difficult things about this build is if you kind of pull back, you'll notice there is just an ever so slightly like arc to the build right here, which is, you know, a super subtle angle and not something easy to achieve with Lego. And it's pretty like jank. Like if I tried to lift it up right now, it probably would fall apart. But it ended up working out. Like it was just, you know, just another level of detail I could give to a build that wasn't super complex.
You got the great lava with the lights underneath there.
Yeah, that was also another cool thing I wanted to do. As someone who's just, you know, kind of gone crazy with lights and Lego recently, I was like, why not do something with the lava? So I literally just kind of made a base. I had lights wired into the base of it and just poured a bunch of those trans orange cheese slopes and kind of had like the lights intermittently shine through it, which has actually worked out because, you know, with lava you have some areas that are much brighter than others. So I think it actually looks relatively accurate.
All right, it ends with your boy. So I'll talk about these three first, and then we'll move on to this. So this guy right here. So yeah, this is actually based off the final cutscene of the Episode 3 levels, where Palpatine finds poor Anakin without his legs or one of his arms, and he calls in the clone troopers with the stretcher. And I actually tried to recreate one of the shots from that cutscene as best I could. And as for the lava, basically I put a layer of trans orange and trans yellow pieces underneath, and then a layer of trans orange and trans yellow and trans black tiles. So it really kind of pops that make it really translucent. And I gotta tell you, I really stretched the amount of trans orange and yellow pieces I used for the lava, so I just barely got that done. I also think the rock work looks decent enough, and I'm pretty happy for this with this. It's kind of a funny build, you know. I mainly wanted to make this just so I can include the two clone troopers with the stretcher, because that's kind of what people remember from that cutscene. All right, so next we have you know Padme, but we have Dead May. So this is right after this in the cutscene. So this is the same cutscene. So little baby Luke and little baby Leia were born, and then Padme just randomly dies, you know. And the game doesn't really give an explanation. Like we kind of see her pregnant in the beginning of the Mustafar level, and then she just kind of just dies randomly. So that's weird. But anyway, this chair, definitely an illegal. This bed right here is definitely an illegal technique. So basically, like, these are two car hinge pieces, like for like the rims or whatever, and I like loosened them slightly, and I put this 1x2 tile on each side to make it more round, so it's a little jank. But for a meme build, just a funny build, I think it's pretty good, and people have gotten a kick out of it, so I'm really happy.
The black X's on the eyes.
Yeah, the black X's. You can actually get that face print from Fig Fab Labs as well. And also shout out to Playmation for letting me use his Emperor Palpatine figure. Next up, we have Darth Vader's transformation. This is also next part of the cutscene. This is the final part of that cutscene. This is like extremely simple. So I literally just borrowed Playmation's original 2005 Darth Vader's transformation set and put it on a black plate with some black tile, and that's it. That's all I did, so very simple. And then lastly, we have the Tantive 4 Episode 4 secret level. So if you didn't know, if you get True Jedi on all 17 levels of the game, which basically means you have to get a certain amount, you have to collect a certain amount of studs in each level to a true Jedi status. And if you do that for all 17 levels, you unlock the question mark door. And inside the question mark door, you get to play as Darth Vader and a stormtrooper in the Tantive 4 in the beginning of Episode 4. And you get to fight a bunch of smiley face fleet troopers who are just so happy to get gunned down and cut down by Darth Vader and the stormtroopers. So this hallway, I'm pretty happy how it turned out. I tried to make it as accurate as I possibly could, with this 6 pattern of like 2x3 tiles, which actually didn't exist at the time when this game was made. There's actually a lot of pieces that didn't exist at the time back in 05. So TT cheated a lot when it came to the custom parts and parts that weren't made yet. As well as these block parts, I tried to represent as best I could. They're technically supposed to be more indented into the wall, but like, I'm not spending like 3 hours trying to like freaking align this in the wall. I was like, screw it, whatever. And then for the floor, it's pretty simple, just snot technique. And then when these little bits that jut out, there's these 2 black lines that kind of border them. And then as for these guys right here, these guys have custom printed heads. These are from SJ Customs, just the Lego Star Wars 1 Somali face Rebel Trooper heads. And as you can see, Darth Vader is force pushing him. What's funny about that level, when you force push the Rebel Troopers in that level, they do like a somersault tumble, which is really funny. So I tried to kind of recreate that as best I could. So yeah, that's the final build. And I just want to say that this collab has gone better than Jay and I would have ever expected. We came up with the idea for doing this like back in December. And the fact we were able to get all these amazing builders that do all these awesome vignettes and to do this, like, especially like the fact we were able to complete the outside of Dexter's Diner. I started working on that like the night before at Jay's house, and we built the rest of it at the convention. And it's just so like awesome just seeing just this collab is just this makes me so happy, and Jay feels the same way. So just shout out to Nick and Techno and Francis and Alex and Axie Droid and Comic Bricks and Last Brickbender, who built stuff, for this convention, who weren't even here. And a shout out to Playmation, of course, just like and to Hunter. Just this whole display is just so awesome, and just yeah, and I love that people are coming up and like, oh man, I remember this part of the game, and just like looking at our builds and looking at my builds and being so happy and asking questions and stuff. So this has just been so cool. I'm so happy with this.
No, a big shout out to all you guys for taking on this collaboration. I love builds like this that the public can recognize and really gets them involved with the layout. So, So many great scenes representing such a great part of Lego Star Wars history. And I know Jay mentioned it earlier, but this is the way that a lot of people got involved in the Lego Star Wars fandom, is through these games. So I love seeing the whole collaboration here. Thanks to you and the rest of the builders for taking us through it.
And I want to just shout out one more person. He didn't build anything for this, but I want to shout out Lord of the Bricks. He provided the TV and the PS2 so we can lounge around and play the original game, and he provided drinks and stuff. Any extra parts we needed, he got for us. So he's also been like a big support in this as well. So shout out to Nate, and just shout out to everyone who made this collab possible. Thank you guys so much.
Perfect. Thank you.